Welcome to Tuesday. It's the 7th of September, 2021. Well, severe clear, we like to call this type of weather, where there's just a lot of high pressure, dry air in place, and really nothing to talk about. Really, that's how it's going to go for the next 4 days. It'll be quite warm. Temperatures, especially Thursday and Friday, will heat up as high pressure has basically a period of time where it expands and grows before it contracts and shrinks a little bit. So we've got some sunny, warm, dry days coming up. We're going to still be fighting the occasional smoke and haze, as the pattern that we're going into is like what we saw yesterday. Is this going to allow the smoke and haze to come back in again? It is going to be a bit cooler with a cold front arriving by the weekend. We're also going to give you a sea surface temperature update out in the Pacific and talk a little about where the La Nina is right now and what we see in the coming months, as we have some new long-range information that just came out over the weekend. Today's satellite photo shows very clearly the area of building high pressure right here. This is a very dry air mass with a big high sitting right over Nevada. Any higher content of moisture in the atmosphere is going to be in the upper Midwest towards the Great Lakes, along the Gulf Coast, but the western United States, very, very dry air is going to dominate. And you can see it when you look at the upper level charts this morning. A big high centered over eastern Nevada and western areas of Utah. So this is going to dominate, causing the jet stream to go up and over us. This hurricane out here in the Atlantic is going to stay out in the Atlantic and not be a problem for the coast. But this high pressure ridge is going to dominate through Friday. But this little guy right here, this little wave here, and then this wave up here, well, this will come on in and kind of knock down this high pressure ridge, kind of beat it up a little bit. And that'll happen over the weekend. And there you can see that. This is by Friday morning. We actually have a frontal system coming into Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. There might even be some showers here with this front as we go on into the end of the week. This system will beat down the high pressure ridge as it heads off to the east a little bit. So the rule of thumb through Friday for just about everyone will be warm, dry, and hazy. But as we get into Friday night and Saturday, you can see the high pressure ridge gets suppressed, pushes south into New Mexico, and the jet stream comes more west to east across the area. This will allow some cooler air to come into the northern Rockies and the northern plains, and there is going to be a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity with this front as well. And if we go out to Monday afternoon, this is Saturday afternoon, Monday afternoon, we have another little trough that comes in, and this will send in some cooler air, and this will bring in some showers and thunderstorms. So this is that mid-September cool down we talked about last week. So it is going to be very summer-like this week, much more seasonal, much more typical September weather by this weekend and into early next week. While we don't expect a lot of precipitation, we will see some showers and thunderstorms. This is through Monday afternoon. So from today through Monday afternoon, so this is almost a full week of time, you can see some shower and thunderstorm activity going back into the Pacific Northwest and across some areas of the central and northern Rockies, with Montana, parts of Idaho, eastern Oregon, into South Dakota and Nebraska here. This little arch is where the most active shower and thunderstorm activity will be. Along and south of I-70, you're not going to have nearly as much activity. It's going to favor more of those northern areas closer to the jet stream and closer to those Pacific weather systems. Now, I want to show you the sea surface conditions out in the Pacific in particular. I want to compare where we are now and where we were exactly a year ago. So this was the sea surface temperature anomaly as of this past Sunday. Anywhere you see an orange color, a bright red color, or even a gray color, that's where sea surface temperatures are warmer than average. White means average, and the blue and the green means cooler than average. And you can see these cool sea surface temperatures across the tropical Pacific near along the equator here, generally speaking cool. And then we've got this big warm pool up here, up south of the Gulf of Alaska. What is remarkable is I'm going to show you the same map for exactly a year ago. Notice a couple of things. First of all, the same areas are warm and the same areas are cold as compared to a year ago. This is where we are now. This is where we were in early September last year. One thing is for sure, the La Nina, the darker green colors here, the La Nina was much stronger going into September a year ago than it is now, but it's still there. Also notice a year ago, we had the same pocket of warm water up in the northern Pacific. That's where we were a year ago, and there's that same body of water that's still pretty warm right now. So there's a lot of similarities with sea surface conditions, but the difference is the La Nina isn't as intense, but it is still there. So what we are probably going to see is a similar fall weather pattern, at least early on, to what we had last year. If you remember last year, we had one strong cold front in September. Then the rest of September and most of October was warmer than drier than normal. I think we're going to see somewhat of a similar trend with this year's sea surface temperatures. And this is where we are now. This is where we were a year ago. However, with the La Nina not quite as strong as it was a year ago, we may see the fall maybe not be quite as warm and as dry as last year, but still warmer and drier than normal, probably through the month of October. Now, it's not to say we won't get cold fronts and some late September, early October snow. We'll probably get it as we normally do. But if everyone can remember, late September and the first 3 weeks of October last year were warm and windy and dry. We're hoping we don't have a repeat performance. I don't think we will, but I don't see a cool, wet start to the fall season, at least through mid-October, based on these sea surface conditions. Now, if we were to look at the long-range forecast of sea surface temperatures, what I'm showing you is the forecast from the European model for the month of December. And for the month of December, it shows a full-fledged La Nina still in place. So the La Nina is going to be with us through the rest of 2021. We have this pocket of warm water up here in the Gulf of Alaska remaining as well. And this does bear watching because when you get warm up here in the winter, that helps the jet stream ride up like this and allows the colder air to come into the United States at times, and that's something to watch. But what I want to show you is the difference right here in sea surface predictions for temperature at the end of December compared to March. And what we have here, if you look, there's a distinct drop. December, March, December, March. See how it fades? And this is good news because what this means is that La Nina will probably peak December, early January and fade February into March, April, and May. If that happens, that does bode well for maybe a spring that'll be cooler and more wet than maybe the last couple of years for parts of Central and Western North America. But we continue to see La Nina having a resurgence, then fading by spring and summer of 2022. Have yourself a great Tuesday. We'll see you on Wednesday.